David M. Nelson, Dean of the College of Physical Education, Athletics, and Recreation at the University of Delaware, is a legend both in Delaware and nationally. He's been credited for putting Blue Hen football on the map as a coach and as an administrator. We've got 22 sports now. It's grown quite a bit at University of Delaware, and we have nationally recognized programs in football, baseball, field hockey, and lacrosse. Dean Nelson, welcome to Focus Delaware.
Robert.
Now, during your first 15 years here, when you first came from University of Maine in 1951, you were serving both as the football coach and the athletics director until you finished up in that 15 years in 1965. You compiled an 84, 42, and 2 record. What highlights of that period stand out in your mind?
Well, I think the thing that stands out in my mind most of all is the fact that the wing T we were running was adopted by many schools around the country, especially University of Iowa, Minnesota, Mississippi used at the University of Washington, and the fact that the University of Delaware was recognized for being innovative and in an offensive system, I think that stands out in my mind as probably the most satisfying part of that time.
Now, all will acknowledge that you're an outstanding football strategist. You've devised the philosophy called the Delaware Wing T. It's been copied by many coaches, as you've indicated. What is, without explaining details, what do you mean by a philosophy, the Wing T philosophy?
Well, a philosophy is a football, offensive football, which this is, and I wouldn't in any way like to give the impression that offensive football is more important than defense, because I think you win with defense
yes,
probably more than you do with offense. But basically it's a multiple offense in which we use every type of offense that you can use from this set, and I think that's the success of it, without going into detail, that you can do anything that can be done from in offensive football from this formation. So I think that's about as simple an explanation as I can make.
And other teams find it quite deceptive?
I hope so.
Now, you've been secretary editor of the NCAA Football Rules Committee since 1961. What is this organization and what is its significance?
Well, this goes a way back. In fact, the first Rules Committee was in 1876, in which 8 students got together to start college football. At the present time, the NCAA has a Football Rules Committee, in which I'm the secretary, the editor. We're responsible for making rule changes and to say how the game is to be played in college football.
There have been changes over the period of time that you've been involved, and then some significant changes of late. Why don't you outline them, first from a safety perspective?
Well, the #1 priority of the Rules Committee is safety, and we have made significant changes to make the game safer. The rules we made to prohibit blocking below the waist has reduced knee injuries by approximately 15% since 1969. We have the mandatory mouthpiece, we have the 4-point chin strap. All of these have contributed to making the game safer. The rules that really stand out during this time, that if you looked at college football over 100 years, the 2-point conversion rule, which was put in 1958, the widening of the goalpost in 1959, where we went from 108 field goals a year to 1,450, really put the foot back in football. Those, I think, are very significant, and within the last since 1969, we've taken the hands from here to here to here to having them open as far as blocking is concerned, and I would think that those are probably the 3 most significant changes.
Okay. Now, Dean Nelson, you're a Hall of Fame inductee. You've served on a dozen NCAA committees. You've authored many books on football, but probably your greatest honor had to be last December when you accepted the Distinguished American Award from the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame. What were your impressions and thoughts at that time?
Well, that was very satisfying, but it brought to mind all of the people, both my family and those who I've worked with over the years, how they contributed to this, and I'm just thankful that I've had a family support and the people who have worked with me at the University of Delaware and at the University of Maine.
You've got your boys now coaching all over the country. Can you name some of the notable ones in schools?
Well, there's quite a few that, of course, since I've been coaching, quit coaching in '65, a lot of them have gone out, but Don Miller is still coaching at Trinity up in Connecticut. Mickey Einigan's coaching at Middlebury, and Rocky Garza, who coached at Tufts, is now the athletic director at Tufts, and Mike Lute is the athletic director at the University of Washington. And there's a number now who have retired from coaching because 20 years is a long shot.
You know, the University of Delaware football program, I don't need to remind you, we had national football champions in 63, 71, 72, and 79 while in Division II. There's been a movement up to a different division, Division I AA. Why the move, and what is the significance of that move?
Well, the move was an obvious one because we had to have a schedule. If you look at the eastern part of the country, there was just not enough Division II schools that were competitive for us to play a 11-game schedule. Most of the schools we were playing were 1AA schools, and we had a number of Yankee Conference schools where we finally moved into the Yankee Conference because of the number that we had. Were 1AA schools. So the reason that we moved was that we were in a situation that we were compelled to move because of scheduling problems.
University of Delaware has now become involved in the Yankee Conference. What are the benefits of that, and why was the move necessary?
Well, to repeat what I just said, the advantages are a guaranteed schedule. If you don't have a full schedule, then you have a problem from a recruiting standpoint, also from a standpoint of supporting yourself financially. So with the Yankee Conference compulsory schedule that we have, the round robin, we'd still be allowed to play Lehigh, Navy, and Westchester as the other three schools. So we have a complete schedule, and that's a great advantage. The other thing is that I think it's very difficult to play a schedule in which you do not have an objective other than playing for a national championship or playing in the playoffs. If you play in a conference, you have a conference goal. And I think we have that now, and we've always been oriented to conferences. We were in a conference, Mid-Atlantic Conference, till 1969. Then we had to go independent because the conference broke up. And I think that the people who follow Delaware football will find it's much more interesting being in a conference and playing conference games week in and week out.
What about some of the other successful programs besides football at University of Delaware?
Well, we have a number, but as you mentioned, we've had nationally recognized team. Our women's lacrosse team is the only university team in Division I that won a national championship. The lacrosse, the women's field hockey team has been in the playoffs for several years. Our baseball team has done very well in the NCAA playoffs, defeating such teams as South Carolina, Florida, Florida State, and an outstanding program. And the football team, as you say, has won 4 national championships.
Mm-hmm. Dean Nelson, we've got athletic scholarships in those 4 areas that you've spoken about. Why not in other areas, such as men's lacrosse, which seems to be so successful already?
Well, we have a balanced program as far as men and women, 2 sports in each, and at the present time, we're spending $750,000. And it's difficult for us to find that funding just for the 4 sports. So to fund beyond that at the present time just is not possible.
Are any of the sports moneymakers?
Not if you cost account. Of course, we have income from football, which is about $750,000, but football, when you cost account of coaches' salaries, scholarships, the rest of that is well over $1 million in expenses.
Has there been a lack of attention towards the basketball program, which seems to have not done as well over the years? And, of course, now there's a program that's going to provide some grant and aid in basketball, and will that make a change?
Well, I don't know. I would hope that it would, but you have to realize that the 3 other sports, which are nationally recognized, were on the same program as the basketball program as far as financial aid is concerned. The financial aid was changed basically because going into the Yankee Conference in football, the Yankee Conference schools, there were no Yankee Conference schools on a need basis, so being in a league which was competitive, with financial aid not based on need, it was necessary we did this. So if we were going to move in one sport, then we moved in the other 3.
What do you think of the quality of Delaware football today as compared to the teams that you coached?
Well, it's a different football game. First of all, I don't think you can compare them because one was a one-platoon football in which people are playing offense, playing defense. This is now platoon football in which you are playing not only offense and defense, but you have kicking teams and you have people who are playing on 3rd down, and you have squads of 95 people and 7 coaches, so it's an altogether different ballgame. The size is different, the speed is different. I'm sure that there's much more speed overall than there was at that time. Obviously, the size is bigger. You have people 250, 260 pounds that you never had at that time, and you have the specialists that you did not have at that time. So I don't think you can compare football that time as now. Personally, I would rather have played at that time because it is not a narrow game where you're doing just one thing in one position. At that time, you played offense, you played defense, and you also had the opportunity in some positions to throw the ball and kick the ball.
Delaware's always had an emphasis on academics. Has that changed at all over the years?
No, the university is still academically oriented, and the justification of our program in intercollegiate athletics is the fact that it is an educational experience, and as long as it is, then it'll be part of the university program.
Dean Nelson, what's your one most outstanding achievement, if you could name just one?
Well, I'm 65 years old, and I haven't been fired yet. So that may happen, but I'm still employed.
Well, with that, we'll end this interview. Dean Nelson, thanks for joining us on Focus Delaware.